Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Ryan, listen up. Ryan, I would spend the whole episode just talking about that fresh new shirt that you got going on in your corner, but we will save that for another day. And I know we definitely want to see a lot of our UConn family when we make the trip up north later in the wintertime. And we will, believe me, we will be packing a lot of them shirts with us. Just hope that the airport crew lets us through with all that luggage because we'll have a lot for them. Hey, getting right on down into business, though, for this episode, spotlight on Caroline Ducharme. Before we focus on Caroline Ducharme, I want to shout out to all the ESPY winners. Ryan, and I know all of our UConn family watching this, and you can serve a proof to this. There's one thing that kept crossing my mind over and over again last night, and that was July of 2021. And yeah, that's right, Ryan. I'm not even going to mention the name because you might as well just do it for me. She won the best female college athlete ESPY award and gave that beautiful speech, Ryan. Yeah, I know. If you want to carry it on out, just go ahead. Go ahead. Why don't you? Who am I talking about?
Yeah, I remember watching that. I think we watched it together at my house that year. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Really good time. That brings back some memories. The ESPYs are always a crucial part of every year and just a part of the sports world in general. So it's definitely a good time once a year to have it on, turn it on, and see all the great athletes there and the speeches they give, all the great teams, and just all the awards given out each and every year. And Paige Beckers did have quite the year, and certainly we're hoping,
Yes.
like we've seen, like we've said many a times already, and I'm sure all the people watching are tired of us saying it, but hopefully she can return to close to what the year that she had or what form she was playing at in 2021.
Just when you think you're moved, right, Ryan? Every July, it gets better and better as far as the ESPY awards go. And the way it opened last night, oh boy, it put a smile on my face. It was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it already next July. All right, so here we go. Caroline Ducharme. The spotlight goes on the Massachusetts native, Ryan, number 33. Coming on here, again, let's just draw the line. And you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. Ryan, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. You never want to doubt the players that we already went over, right? On during this series. Any one of them has enough of what it takes to step up and be that star, right? So here's my point. Draw the line here. To me, in my opinion, this right here is where you draw the line. Caroline Ducharme all the way up the ladder. The rest of the players we have on the list, it gets very important right here. The reason I say this because including Caroline Ducharme and then the rest of them going the rest of the way in this series, if you lose any one of these and God forbid I say the word, to injury, season-ending injury, half a season, it could spell trouble. Because I'm looking at especially because you lose Dorka Juhas, you lose Lou Lopez Sinichal. It's a different kind of team. So again, very important, Ryan, that we pay attention now because, hey, the question no longer focuses on Ryan. Well, how much playing time is she going to get, Ryan? That's not up to us anymore, Ryan, because you already know. Very important to me. I'll get your opinion. This is where the line draws, Ryan. Caroline Ducharme all the way up. The rest of the players we have to go. Ducharme, who has played, Ryan, in 51 of a possible 73 games over 2 seasons at UConn. I believe she played in 31 games her freshman year. So, Ryan, this is a star, all right? From the time she stepped onto the court, a star at UConn. Ryan, what do you think? What do you think? Because she's had some concussion history. What do you expect? Junior year coming up? This is big. I mean, talk about, that's an understatement, Ryan. This is absolutely crunch time.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and we certainly don't want to emphasize that one player is important than another player on this roster. But in terms of the playing time and that sort of thing, I guess we're more certain about these players moving forward that we're going to go over on the roster. And
Yeah.
certainly, if UConn suffers an injury with any of these players, that including Caroline, that we're going to go over from now on, would certainly be pretty detrimental. And
Yeah.
some of the players that we still have to go over have
Hmm.
suffered pretty serious injuries. And Caroline Ducharme, unfortunately, is one of them. But already, like you said, Caroline's a junior and has played 2 seasons. Kind of hard to believe. Her freshman year was mostly injury free, if I remember correctly, and she played a pretty impactful minutes and played a factor in UConn making it to that championship game 2 years ago. She did have hip surgery the following off season, and unfortunately, after that, the injuries started to pile up for Caroline. Last year was injury filled, as it was for most of the team, but she had dealt with neck stiffness, head injuries throughout the season, forced her to miss games at the start of the season. She had that concussion, which held her out more games. And I think just those injuries surrounding the head and neck area affected her for the entire season. Just seemed like to me she never really looked like the player that she was during her freshman year. Never really looked like her true self out there. We never saw that Caroline from her freshman year, and we said it about a couple of the players so far. And I want to say it again for Caroline. Hopefully she can recover during the off season and have a healthy season so we can play to her true potential. But I believe Caroline will start some games for UConn, but I think she's going to start the season on the bench. In my opinion, I think it's probably going to
Oh,
be Paige, Azzi, and Nika, but we certainly have a couple months until we have to start discussing the starting lineup. But I don't think Caroline starting on the bench is necessarily a bad thing. She's certainly used to it. She came off the bench a lot during her freshman year and a couple games last year when she was
mhm.
healthy and able to play. For Carolina, I think she feels comfortable coming off the bench, and she's been doing a pretty good job in her role. She's a great shooter, can definitely score the ball with ease. We've seen her attack the glass, rebounding, and a little bit of a defensive potential as well. And I think she's a little bit of a wild card this year in the sense that Gino can kind of move her around in the lineup. And if she stays healthy, I certainly think she's going to play a key role in the success this season that UConn hopefully has.
I agree, and I think to go along with that, before we get into comments, with her playing that guard position, I think that if your prediction holds up, and she very well does stay on the bench most of the season, as far as not in the starting lineup. Again, expecting tons of minutes out of her, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, as long as she stays healthy, that is, along with again this player and the rest of them going up the ladder. But with that said, yeah, I mean, she was high coming out of high school. We were high on her coming out of high school, which I think that's the case with all these players, right? If they're going to UConn.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Ryan, that I wanted to ask you if she, again, in my opinion, I think that she may be the key piece to the puzzle as far as the key off of the bench. Meaning, if it's just my opinion, again, just give me my take. If she doesn't provide, because we've seen some people in the history of doing this podcast and our UConn nation, our UConn family. Some people remember this is a player that we haven't mentioned enough, according to some people. So now the spotlight's totally on her for this episode. So that's good news, because then people can comment away, right? Because supposedly we haven't mentioned Caroline Ducharme enough. So here's our chance. Here's your guys' chance to tell us about Ducharme. With that said, Ryan, I don't I don't really see UConn taking that next step, that next leap, and becoming that elite team come March without quality playing time, quality minutes, star performance from her off of the bench. Because the reason I say that, again, you don't have to be a starter, obviously. I mean, you saw what happened, down at College Park, an hour away from us, with the bench players coming in for Brenda Friesen And it's just amazing, man. So you don't have to necessarily be a starter. But my point to you is we've seen, Ryan, a lot of people that have been kind of disappointed with Caroline Ducharme. And some people have said, man, she's arguably the biggest name in UConn. So, Ryan, it's okay. So if she in fact is, hey, and like I said, I just said it about 5-10 minutes ago, crunch time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I think in terms of the bench players, I don't think Gino really has relied on them that much in terms of all the years that he's been here at UConn. But when you have bench players like Gino has had over the years where he knows that he can rely on a couple of the players on his bench to just come in. They know what
Yeah.
their role is and they're very good at their job and just coming in and picking up when the starters are on the bench and need some rest. And I think Caroline can certainly be a starter for this team if there's any injuries that happen during the season. And I believe she'll definitely be ready if that opportunity arises. And I think for Caroline and for UConn as well, they're definitely going to need her scoring off the bench because we all know she can shoot the three ball. There's a couple games, I believe, during her freshman year where she either started or came off the bench and had quite the scoring performance and led them to a couple of wins that season. That's why last year when she was dealing with those injuries, it was really a disappointment because I was really expecting big things out of her last season, but unfortunately, those injuries did held her back a little bit. So hopefully, like I said, she can stay healthy for the season and just start off the bench and maybe have a couple spot starts here and there. If anybody gets injured or Gino throws her into the starting lineup, but I think she'll definitely be ready for whatever role Gino has. But you're definitely right that UConn's definitely going to need her scoring off the bench or in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I don't know about you if you feel the same way, a lot more depth. And I think it's going to be a lot more talent off of the bench years to come, not only this year, but again, as time unfolds. I know you and I are really looking forward to it. Hey, Ryan, how about the disruptive one? This is interesting. He goes, the back thing came late in the year after she was already out of the rotation. I believe he's referring to Amari DeBerry. This is from that episode. UConn should have gone after Betts hard. Wow, Ryan. So here we go again. So it looks like the title of that episode was spot on, according to the disruptive one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of people that would have wished that UConn went after Betts and a couple of the other players, Van Lith and Angel Reese. But I mean, certainly I think we've said it a couple of times before, the comments have mentioned it. UConn doesn't really go after the big name players. I think UConn is kind of known for recruiting players out of the transfer portal or players that are transferring from other schools. Or certainly like we've seen over the past couple years, getting players from other countries that not a lot of people have even heard of, and they come to stores and just light the world on fire and light up, blow everybody's expectations out of the roof. So and hopefully that's the case for some of the players that are currently on the UConn roster. So I think it's all going to work out in the end. It definitely would have been pretty cool and exciting to get some of those players that entered the transfer portal this season. But I certainly think UConn's still in a pretty good spot, even though they didn't necessarily pick up anybody in the portal to fill the void that Dorka Juha has left us. But I think UConn should be just fine.
Bill Nichols, Amari has not performed during her entire college career. Irrespective of the ongoing sugarcoating, she's a bust. Let's discuss what UConn let's discuss what can UConn do to move on from her? Question mark. So, well, Ryan, not to be disrespectful to this person, but I love athletes that all of a sudden just break out, right? And then it even leaves my jaw hanging wide open and your jaw hanging wide open when we still both believe in them.
Well, and I think if UConn wanted to move on from Amari DeBerry, I think they would have already, and I think she would have already entered the transfer portal. But I still think there is some hope left. I mean, Amari is in her junior year. She has 2 years left. It certainly has been a rough couple years for her start out here in UConn at UConn, but I believe there is some hope still left, and I think Amari and all the players and coaches still believe in her, and I think she still believes in herself, and that's very important. And I know, like we both mentioned, she is going to work on that this off season. So hopefully she comes ready for the season, and I think we can all just hope to see the Amari that we all watched when she was coming out of high school, and we had all the high expectations for. And I think we all know and realize that player is still still able to break out as a star here in UConn.
Just a reminder, we do see you guys, even though we don't have time to read every comment. We love all the comments. Keep coming through. Last one, Ryan Allen Lee. 2 things. Love the love you give Amari. None of us knew she had back issues. Explains a lot. And number 2, Phil, pay no attention to whoever says you talk too much, including Ryan. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. That's why we're here to talk. Kind of ridiculous statement, in my opinion. It's a long off season, and you've been delivering. I love all the things Huskies women's basketball, so you're always appreciated. Wow, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely appreciate that. And I think, the back injuries really aren't mentioned enough, because I think that's just kind of an injury that's just kind of goes into the bubble, if you will, of all the injuries that we've seen. But a back injury, I'd say, is probably one of the most serious injuries out of all of them that we've already seen in the 2 years of covering this team, because if a back injury isn't taken serious enough, it can be career ending, just like the ACL. But if you don't get your back straightened out, it could affect your whole basketball career or whatever sport you play. But in this case, for Amari, it could possibly ruin her whole basketball career. So hopefully that's taken care of also during the off season. A lot of things that she's working on during the off season. But like I said before, I just hope that she can figure all of that stuff out and get help from all the coaches. And I just hope all the players are ready and ready to go after the off season and when the preseason starts kicking off.
Like they say, Ryan, the sky is the limit. After this episode, there's nowhere else but up. It's going to get exciting, Ryan. We're getting into the heavy roster names and the coaching staff, the star players, star names, man. You guys don't want to miss it. I know, Ryan, that you can't wait. We all can't wait. Ryan, a good Thursday to you, July 13th. We'll be right back here Monday morning. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.